Alright, this is section 5.2 in the book, but it's actually the same thing as the last video. We're still writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. It's just sort of, we have different starting points. Okay, so it's just more information about slope-intercept form. So example 1, use point and slope. So you're given the slope, and you're trying to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So remember, y equals mx plus b, and our goal is still the same. We're just trying to find slope and y-intercept. So we're actually already given part of that, right? We're given that the slope is -4. So the part that we still have to find is the y-intercept, or the b. So what we're going to do, if you remember, at one point we talked about how x and y stand for any and all points that fall on the line. So this ordered pair, -1, 3, is just one point that happens to fall on the line. So we're going to plug it in and then solve for b. So y equals -4x plus b. We already know m is -4, but then again, to solve for b, we're going to plug in -1 and 3. So instead of y, we write 3 equals -4 times -1 plus b. 3 equals negative times negative is +4. To solve for b, subtract 4 from both sides, and -1 equals b. So what that tells us is to then write our final equation, we need b and m. So y equals -4x minus 1. Okay, example 2 is you're given 2 points this time. So we have to do a little more work because they didn't give us the slope. But we have the slope formula, so we can use that to find the slope. And then the second part, where we find the b, is actually going to be just like example 1. So first we need to find the slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that becomes -6 over 6, which is actually -1. Alright, so we've kind of solved half of our puzzle. We know m is -1. But remember, we still need to find b. Our end goal is to write it in slope-intercept form. And actually, you kind of have a choice. So just like before, we know y equals -1x, or -x plus b. And to solve for b, you need to plug in a point for x and y. It doesn't matter which point you choose. Either one will work. I usually try to find the one that looks easier, but in this case they're both pretty easy. So let's go ahead and plug in the first one. So 5 equals -1 times -2 plus b. 5 equals 2 plus b. b equals 3. So my final equation is y equals -1, or -x, plus 3. Alright, and that's all you have to do to get the answer. But just so you can see that it doesn't matter which point, I'm going to go ahead and try the other one just to prove it to you. So if I plug in -1 equals -1 times 4 plus b, this is separate. Remember, I already got my answer. -1 equals -4 plus b. Add 4 to both sides. -1 plus 4 is 3. So in the purple and the blue, you can see it doesn't matter which point you plug in. You can still find b. But the end goal is our red equation. Y equals mx plus b. So y equals -x plus 3. Alright, so this is just sort of summarizing for you the different scenarios. So in the last video, we saw the first one. Given the slope and the y-intercept, you just plug it in and you get your equation. This time we were given slope and 1 point, and so we knew m and we just had to solve for b. But again, same goal, y equals mx plus b. And then the one we just did is when you're given 2 points and you have to find m and b. But again, you're still trying to write it in y equals mx plus b. So it's kind of like a puzzle where you're given different pieces to start with, but you're always trying to get to the same place in the end. Okay, so our last example, example 3, is just like the other ones except it's in function notation. So if you remember for function notation, f of x is y. So it's just another way of telling you what x and y are. So the first thing you need to do is write the information as an ordered pair. So f of 0 equals -1 is really just 0, comma, -1. And f of 2 equals 3 is 2, 3. So now this problem becomes just like the last problem, where we still have to find m using the slope formula, and we still have to find b. So slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's -4 over -2, which simplifies to +2. So we know m is 2. So far we have y equals 2x plus b. Now the next part is kind of funny because you might have recognized that they actually gave you the y-intercept. So remember, a y-intercept has a value of 0. So over here where you see 0, -1, this is actually the y-intercept. So if you recognize that, then that saves you some work. You know b equals -1, and you can just plug it in to get your answer. But if you didn't recognize that, then let's see what happens if you're just trying to solve for b. So again, I'm going to plug into this equation. I'm going to use this point right here. So 3 equals 2 times 2 plus b. And now I just solve for b. -1 equals b. So even doing it algebraically, I still get the same answer, y equals 2x minus 1. But if you recognize that this is actually the y-intercept, and they've given you b, then you can save yourself a little work. Alright, but just keep in mind, the whole goal is to be able to write an equation in slope-intercept form. There's kind of different ways that you're going to have to get there. And that is it for this section.